Alright, so today we're going to change out the Birfield joint. My dad's 94 Land Cruiser. So, been having problems with it popping, you know, when you're turning under pressure. So, what we're going to do is take everything apart, pull it out. We got the new parts, and we'll put it all back together. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you what it sounds like when these things start popping. So that's what it sounds like when the Birfield joint starts going bad and starts popping. So we're gonna start taking this apart. There's Daisy dog. Hey baby. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start jacking up. Of course, block the back. Start pulling everything apart, and of course I'll show you the new parts when we get ready to put those in.
All right. So we're gonna jack it up, and of course for safety we're gonna block it, and we're also going to put jack stands underneath it. You should only need to jack up this one side here because it's the only one we're going to replace. Make sure you give yourself enough room so you can put the jack stand underneath it. Make it up a little bit here. Alright, so we're going to get the jack stand. Put the jack stand right up here. Go. Make sure we got it set, so slow this down. Oh, we gotta move the jack stand back a little bit. Go. Perfect. What I like doing is let all the weight of the vehicle sit on the jack stand and keep the jack up underneath it just a little bit.
Here's my lumber timber thing that I'm going to use to block the back. Another thing you can do, since we're working on the front, the emergency brake on these things work good. You could always pull that too, so I'll do that as well. Alright, so now we get to pull the tire off. Alright, so now we're going to pull the wheel off. Put all your lug nuts and everything together. I'll get me a pan here in a minute. Here we go. All right. So what we're gonna have to do now is we're gonna have to pull this little cap off here. There's a spring clip right here. You got to take this off, pull this cap off, then we start taking off the brakes and everything else to be able to pull the hub and everything off of it. So we'll get to it. Alright, so I got all my tools laid out. This should be everything I need here. Kind of like to keep everything organized. Got my pan over here, shop towels. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to knock this off. It's the cap. I can get to the C-clip for the axle. Then I can take these out, and you're going to pull these little clips out here, and I'll show you a little trick of getting those out. And let's go from here. You don't have to get that close. Sometimes this thing wants to be a pain to get these off. There you go. Just tap it out around here. There we go. Got our cap. And the cool thing about what I like how Toyota did this is it's beveled, so the actual cap itself, this fits around here. So when you just beat on it on the outside, there's not a lip that goes out and goes. It's not like a standard axle bearing cap, so you can't really mess it up as long as you're not beating on it too hard. It comes right off. And so now what we have here, here's our axle, and it's got a clip right here. Got a C-clip. So what we got to do is use our C-clip pliers. And actually, I gotta reverse these. One second. Here we go. Put these on here. When it wants to work nice. Come on. Probably better pliers to do this with, but you know, this is what I got. This is what we're gonna use. There we go. Just slowly work it off. There we go. So here's your C-clip. Throw that over there. So now you can see the axle move backwards and forwards. Now another cool thing they did, you'll notice this when you go to put it back together, that right here you can actually put a bolt in here. I believe it's a 10mm bolt. And what that's for, once you have all this together, you can actually stick a bolt in there and you can actually pull it out so you can put your C-clip on. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and take this cap off. It's all 10mm. So got my 12mm. Get this. And go ahead and start pulling these off. Alright, so just using some old WD-40 here to lube up my air tools. Definitely want to keep your air tools lubed up. Definitely work a lot longer. Oh yeah, looks like I'm blowing off nitrous. Alright, so get all those off. Now sometimes, you see, you have these little cone washers here. And actually what these are for, if nobody knows, is when you have this cap on here, all the torque from the axle is getting pushed on this cap, this outer cap. Now since this is an all-wheel drive unit, it's a full-time, according to Toyota, full-time all-wheel drive, so there's no locking hub. This right here would be where your locking hub would bolt up to if you had a hub to lock the differential in at the axle. But since this one's an all-wheel drive model, it has a cap, it just bolts directly to it, and you got these cones here. And what this does, once everything's bolted in, everything's said and done, it doesn't allow for play against these bolts. So these cones, so when you tighten it up, these cones right here, they're tapered, they go in, taper against this outer piece, so when the axle's moving backwards and forwards, over time it doesn't allow it to wear on these bolts, so it keeps everything bolted nice and tight. Now you can see that I can move this backwards and forward here, backwards and forwards. And that's the other little trick I had. If you ever have where these don't want to come out, sometimes you gotta pry them on a little bit. If you take this cap and pull out like that, it'll push them out. Push it back in, now you can get them off. Sometimes it's a lot harder than that, but this one, since we've had it apart before, it's a little bit easier. Gotta have beer. Thanks, Dad. Anyway, alright, so what I'm going to do now, okay, so I got these pulled back. What you want to do, I found a little trick. Sometimes you just can't pull these off. You know, like, they don't want to come off. Take a pair of dikes and gently put them behind them and just kind of pry off. Gently, don't mess your threads up. They work for me, it comes off every single time. See, just gently pry, slowly but surely. These little cones here will start to come off. Like I said, barely do it. And you can see, it might be a better way. If there is, please tell me in the comments below. This is the way I've always done it, and it's worked like a champ. Let's kind of wiggle it off. There you go. There's the other one. And just keep going around. And definitely make sure you don't lose these. Yeah, you can always get these too. All the different Land Cruiser places, you know, cruiserparts.net or Manafree. I mean, all the, you know, Spectra Off-Road, all these places sell them for these axles, and they're the 4Runner, Toyota pickup, all the straight axles are they're exactly identical to this when it comes to how the clips, everything pretty much goes together. This one's just different because it's all-wheel drive. So once we got that, we can go ahead and just be able to pull this cap off here. There we go. Pry out a little bit, and there's our cap. So you got it. Of course, here's your gasket, which we do. Of course, we have new gaskets for this as well that I bought. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull this off. If I break it, really don't care. Could probably just RTV this, but I'm a true believer in buying new gaskets and doing things right the first time. So we'll just throw that over to the side. So now, you got your axle here floating. This is the outer side of your Birfield joint. So what we got to do now to pull the rest of this off, before I go any further, I need to go ahead and pull this brake caliper and secure it up here. Okay, so now what we got to do is we got to pull this brake caliper off. In order to do this, we got a bolt here, and of course a bolt here on the bottom side that we're going to have to take off. And what we want to do once we take this off is going to be able to take this brake caliper and with a bungee cord secure it up here somewhere, so it's out of the it's out of the way and it's not falling anywhere. So let's get to that.
All right. So that's the first bolt. Got that. Take it out, and this is a 17mm socket, by the way, to take these bolts out. And we get to the bottom one here. Press down. Break it loose.
All right, we got it out. Sweet. Here's the bolt right here, 17mm. And please keep in mind when you're putting these things back on, use Loctite. Put Loctite on these. I've actually had those bolts back out even when you torque them down because of the vibrations on my '67 Mustang I was doing back in the day. So make sure you put Loctite on things that need Loctite. And even if it doesn't need Loctite, put it on there anyway. Alright, cool. So we're going to get this caliper off. There we go. And, man, it's getting close for time for some new brakes. Pads. So we got, here we go. And what we're going to do is just take this guy, kind of just take it here, and secure it off somewhere, like here. And be mindful of the brake lines. When we lifted this, we put some stainless steel, nice braided stainless steel brake lines on here, so they're pretty strong. But just be mindful of that, because you can definitely mess the stock ones up. So we're just going to kind of just secure it up here out of the way somewhere. There we go. It ain't going to go anywhere. It's just sitting here. Hopefully it doesn't. So I'm going to get ready to pull this off here. But what you have to do first is there is it's kind of like a lock wash, if you want to say. You see it right here. Down if you want to zoom in here. See this right here? This right here is actually a lock washer. What it is you put it on first, you tighten this down, and you bend the prong over here, and it keeps that nut from tightening and loosening right there on the axle, so on the spindle. So what I'm going to do is just bend this up a little bit like that. And keep in mind that if you have to pull this thing off multiple different times, that these will break. So you might have to get new ones if they break. Or you're definitely going to have to get new ones if you break them. Because you don't want that backing off. And there should only be one on here. Yep, looks like it. So now we can go ahead and knock this first ring off. Our first nut off. So if you have the tool, great. If not, just take this screwdriver here, put it on there, and start turning her loose. Be gentle. That's why I like using the brass hammer. Kind of works good. So, and I know it doesn't really help when I'm using a steel screwdriver, but either way. All right, so we knocked it loose. Let's see if I can spin it off by hand. Here we go. Here we go. It's the first one. Nice. All right, so now we gotta pull this off. And what we're going to do is that lock ring I was just talking about. Now it does have a little key in here, and I'll show you so I don't drop it and get it all nasty. Of course, I'm going to clean everything back up, but here it is. Alright, so see the key here. So you got the key. This fits right here on this. This keeps it from moving backwards and forwards. You bend this over the front one, you bend that one over the back one. There's 2 nuts on these systems. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we are going to knock the inside nut out. Just tap, tap, tap-a-roo. There we go. It's loose now. Get my fingers in here, loosen it up. Oh, nice and gooey. Love the old smell of worn out grease in the mornings. Here we go. There you go. Here's the second one. Goes right there. And now we have another washer in here, which goes right next to the bearing. And you can see the whole thing kind of come off. Another way you could do this too, to kind of get this off, is slide that, and of course, the rings come off. And here's the bearings. And one thing I didn't go over, which I should have, and which I'll go over now, you know, so you have the bearings in here, if they want to work with me here. So one thing you want to do is definitely test your bearings, and this is one thing we've already done on this because we were looking at this issue before, and you can see that the bearings, they feel nice, they feel good, don't feel like they're messed up anyway. So that's how we definitely you definitely want to check those. So when you go to pull everything apart, examine your bearings, make sure everything looks good. If anything's worn out, the race inside that the bearing rides on, if that's messed up, replace your bearings. Go ahead and spend the money, do it right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this hub off. But before I do that, let's go ahead and get some napkins here so I can set this hub down, because the bearings are going to try to, let's kind of set it right here when I pull it off. So here we go. I'm going to hold the bearing while you do it. Pull it off. There we go. We can set it down. Now I can officially move it up out of the way. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is just kind of clean all the spindle and everything up. Check the spindle, make sure nothing looks bad there. So far, everything has looked great on this. Just kind of clean everything up. I love to keep everything clean. Of course, when I go to take all this off, all this mud and dirt and stuff over here doesn't come off. Beautiful. Alright, beautiful spindle. Alright, so now what we got to do is we got to pull this off. You take these main bolts, this is your dust cover, but the dust cover is also held in place by these bolts here, so it's 8 bolts. This bolt right here actually holds the spindle on, the axle goes through, and it's actually, once we open this up, we'll be able to see the Birfield joint and get ready to pull everything out. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and start taking these out. These look like they're 14 millimeter. Yes, they're 14 millimeter. So we'll go ahead and start pulling these out. And also, since this is a Land Cruiser, if you start looking here, so we got our ABS wire and everything. That should not be affected. This is your ABS system. That shouldn't be affected by this, what we're doing. So we're going to go ahead and pull this apart. That's off. Of course, you got your seal in here too. This seal is broken, so we need a new one, which we probably don't have. Dust cover. And clean all this stuff up too when you put it back in. Don't get lazy. Like I said, if you're gonna do it right. Alright, so now you gotta take this bad boy off. That's all it took. Ready? Yay! That's some nasty stuff. Look at this. Oh man, don't you just want to lick it? Not really. Look at that. That looks awesome. Well, so you guys ready to pull this axle out or what? And you see this? Oh, it's got a gasket on it. And they RTV'd it. You know what that tells me? They're lazy. They didn't do it right. So here it goes. What you gotta do, there's a secret. See how this won't come out? There's a secret. You know how you get it out? First of all, you got to, how about put the transfer case in neutral, since this is all-wheel drive, which I didn't do before we started this. So I gotta do that. What we gotta do, on these Birfield joints, there's 2 flat spots. One on the top, one on the bottom. You gotta turn this axle so the flat spots, and then you can slide the axle right out. I'll show you here in a minute. Let's see if I can turn this by hand. So what you can do is take the spindle here, put it up on here, slide it. See if you can turn the axle. I can't. There's way too much pressure on it. So I gotta put the transfer case in neutral. Hold on one second. Alright, so transfer case in neutral. Okay, now you can see I can spin this. So what you do is take this, find the flat spot. You have to pull the ABS out. Nice. I could probably leave all this together. Switch this out for 12mm. Here, kind of loosen it up first. There we go. That's what I like to see. 12mm. Pull this out and watch. Oh, it all came out. ABS sensor. Look at all these dirt. Been nice if I would have blown this out off first, right? Maybe I should have did that. And there's your joint. Load your axle. Be careful. Pull it out. And there's your axle. And oh yeah, this thing is rough. As you can see, there's your Birfield joint. Oh yeah. This thing is really rough. So what we gotta do is clean all this up, take it apart, and I'll show you the new parts, which is gonna go in there. And the grease don't look too bad. Maybe didn't get up in there. So we'll see. Alright, so I got some of this gunk out of here, still a lot more left to clean up, but one thing we gotta replace in here is your outer axle seal. So what I gotta do, now you can't really see it, it's fine. I gotta use the cool seal puller tool, get it in here, and see if we can get the seal out. Alright, so of course it didn't want to come out, so I'm having to beat it out, basically destroying it. And what's gonna do, by cutting it in half, I should be able to pull it out. So here it is. After further ado and beating the hell out of it and mingling it, I got it out. Yay! Moving on. Alright, so we got the axle seal out, demolished. So just got to clean this up a little bit, start cleaning up the other parts, and then take the Birfield joint apart, put the new end on it, which I'll show you here in a little bit, and put it all back together. And so let's see how it goes. Alright, so here's our new parts. Got everything from cruiserparts.net. They had to send an outer spindle cap. The reason is, come to find out, that when you go, since this is a 94, when you go get an outer Birfield joint, they actually use outer Birfield joints from the 97s and on up, which are different, which requires a different cap. So we got the new cap, that's cool, and of course the new gaskets. So here's our outer seal. Well, I just dropped on the ground and probably damaged. Nope, still good. Then we got, pull these off here. new gaskets, yay! So here's all the new gaskets, like I was saying that we needed. Here. And yeah, we should be in good shape. I think that's all that was in here. And the Birfield joint I left in the house, so I have to go get that. Alright, awesome! So here's the new Birfield joint. I haven't taken it out the package yet. Let's take a look at it. And of course, it's the outer. Voila! Check it out. Beautiful ABS ring, axle. Let's make sure everything fits. Nice. And oh yeah, so this was the reason that we had to get a different cap. So supposedly the new axles are longer here at the end, so this new cap is longer to compensate for that. If I use the stock one, supposedly it's different, but we'll check that out because I'm very curious on that. So new Birfield joint, everything's nice and tight. There's a C-clip here on the inside that holds all this together. You basically take the inner, slide it in here, C-clip in the inside, or there's a clip in the inside that holds it all together. But of course, you know, pack all this full of grease. Get some nice fresh grease in there, which we got everything ready. So let's do some cleaning and let's put everything back together. All right, anyway, we got the axle over here, and it's definitely messed up. You can hear it. This thing's all loose. The metal's worn out on the inside. Balls are all messed up. It's messed up. So what we gotta do is a C-clip in here. Just gotta pull this C-clip out. We should be able to pull this outer apart and then pack it full of grease and start putting the new one in. So by using the axle tool, we was able to take another axle apart. So here's your C-clip, safety clip that gets pressed in here when you put it together. No, I'm not going to do that again. So now we clamp the axle. Doesn't look damaged. Should be good. And grease up the new Birfield joint and put it all back together. Alright, so we got the axle cleaned up, got it apart. Before I do anything else, I want to go ahead and put the new seal in here, which I got here. Brand new seal. Oh, sorry. Brand new seal right here. So we got that. Of course, it goes in here. And here, let me do this, and I'll show you. Yep, the new seal goes right in here. So I had to knock the other one out, or beat it out. And so now what we'll do is clean up the gasket material and everything that's left on here. Make sure that's all clean. Put the new seal in. Put a bunch of grease in here. Put the new Birfield joint back together, and we'll go from there. So now, I got a rag, and kind of clean all this up here. Clean this up. Let's clean up where the new seal is gonna go. Clean that up really good. Perfect. Feels great. All right. We got that cleaned up. Let's go ahead and put this new seal in. Kind of just push it in there first. Gonna get it started. All right, so what you can do is just take a little extension. Be very, very careful.
Seated.
I think we're good to go. So now, we take this, we got our new ceiling. Nice.
Alright, so we got the new Birfield joint here. So what I want to do is I want to start greasing this up a little bit. And I find my tub of grease, I put some in. I found it! Grease. Make sure your hands don't have dirt on them. Mine's just greasy. So what we're going to do here, just going to put some grease in these splines here. And then what I like to do is kind of start packing grease here in the joint. A little bit. I know a lot of this is going to get pushed out, but once we put the new piece in there and start moving it around, and I'll grease it up a couple more times. Make sure there's enough grease in there. Of course, we got to put grease too in the housing. All right, it's all greased up. So now we'll put it in the bench vise and we'll try to get the other piece in. All right, so now we got the axle. Of course, we got our clip here. I'm just gonna throw some grease on here. And so it's a compression ring, as you can see here. This compresses when you go stick it in there. So kind of greasing this up a little bit. Line the splines up. Yep. All right. I'm gonna compress the ring a little bit. There we go, come on. There it is. And look, it's locked together. A lot better. Look at that. No clicking, popping. So what we're gonna do, let's put some more grease. Love grease. Can't never have too much. Actually, you can, but get these joints all nice and packed. All right, looks good to me. All right, so now we can pull it out of here, put a little grease around that seal, and slide it back up in there and start putting it back together.
Alright, so greased up the seal. Now we're just going to take this axle. Actually, you know what? Before I do that,
I am forgetting about something. Here, Dad, hold this.
and actually what I need to do is take grease, a bunch of it, and put it in here. Because, you definitely want to make sure everything is all greased up in here. Because that Birfield sits in here. And when you have grease and other stuff in here, one, it helps with the water. You get water in it. And that's the way I've always done mine. It's always worked perfectly. So, if anybody wants to complain about it, oh well. Here we go.
got some grease in it. So now, take the axle back.
What we'll do is we'll slide up in here. Be careful because we do got a new seal in there. Try to get up and up.
Remember too, there's 2 flat spots. Make sure you have that top and bottom. Kind of press down in it.
Slide it up, and there you go. It's locked in. She is ready to rock and roll. We can continue with putting her back together. Another successful mission. Here we go.
All right, grease hands. All right, so now we got our ABS sensor we got to put back in, gasket seals, spindle. Start putting all that back together. So we're gonna put this back together. ABS sensor in. There you go. Put a 10mm bolt, or 12, sorry.
Over torque it, good to go. Everything's lining up. Great.
Grease fingers again. All right. So we got that. Make sure you clean all the grease off this too, because you know your gaskets. I usually put a little dabs of RTV onto it, also to help the gasket stay in place. So do that. So now we'll move to the other parts. All right, so we got everything laid out here. So what I'm gonna do now, I've got our new gaskets. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a couple dabs, RTV here. Just kind of hold it in place. Makes life a little bit easier. You know, you can put a little bit more on here if you want. Seal everything up. But so what we're gonna do is take this one. This one goes right here. Just line your holes up. You see, and also you'll see in all the gaskets the little gap that has to go on the bottom, and you'll see why. So we're gonna put that on there. Okay. So all right. So we're gonna go ahead, slide that on.
All right. And line up our holes. Of course, you'll see here divot at the bottom. That's where it should go. Get everything to line back up here.
Alright, so what we're going to do now, I should do this before, I'm going to clean up these bolts real quick that we're going to use to bolt these up. So I'm going to do some cleaning on these, we'll come back and we'll put them in. So we're just going to take some RTV here, let's put it here to kind of hold the gasket in place. Alright. Remember, piece it on the bottom, put our gasket on.
Nice. Nice to know you.
Here we go.
Got it all bolted together.
There we go. A little seepage from the gasket material. So then I'm going to go ahead and bolt this on.
And that's going to go on there. Make sure you have it turned the right way.
It'd be nice if I put it on the right way, wouldn't it be?
There we go. He's got it.
Alright, so what you gotta have now, but since all this stuff has to be bolted together, what I'm gonna do is kind of just set this here. That's why I use the gasket material to kind of hold stuff in place, because if not, it's a real pain. What you want to do is kind of do the same thing for the last seal here. So what we're gonna do is take your RTV, put some here, a couple little dabs, hold it in place, and put this like this. Just kind of
stick it right here. Make sure you get all this lined up before you do it. So just like that. Stick that right there like that.
Now
our last seal. And yep, right here on the bottom, just like that. So, and of course, me telling everybody not being lazy, I'm being lazy. I didn't clean this off, so let me clean this up and we'll finish. Cool. So we got everything, kind of cleaned up here. So we're gonna go ahead and put that up on there. Put our little dust cover up here. Make sure we get everything lined up. There we go. All right. So what we want to do is get one of our bolts and let's get it started. Yep, everything lines up. Start there. There's 2, 3. And definitely when you're using air tools and everything like that, definitely make sure you start them before you start going crazy and tightening them up and everything. Let's see here, 14mm. Let's go. And just like a tire, crisscross pattern. Alright, so on here, on our main hub, the bearings, everything checked out good. You know, I kind of looked at them. Everything feels great. And the back seal, I've already looked at it. Back seal looks perfect. Bearing feels great and everything. So, you know, I could repack them, but we're not going to do that. So we're just going to take this. You know, if you want, another thing you could do, always recommend, you could take some grease right here and put it on the spindle if you want, but there's enough grease and everything inside of here, so should be good to go. Take this, make sure our bearing doesn't fall out, and slide it on there. Got to get that. Feels good. So, the next step's going to be putting our lock washers and main spindle nuts and everything on. Got this right here. They're already greased up and everything, so we'll just everything feels good with them. So, first one we're going to put on here. Kind of wipe it clean a little bit. No grease, I mean there's no dirt or anything on them. They feel really nice and clean. So go ahead and slide here. See our keyway. So our first big washer goes in, presses up against that. Oh, gotta clean that. Then we have our big nut. Got that. Feels good. Let me get a new rag here. Here we go. Alright, so that's nice and clean. So I got our first nut here. We'll go ahead and get this started. Sometimes these can be kind of fun. Like I was saying. There we go. Okay. This is what we're gonna do. Now, if you guys have never worked on these front hub bearings before, one thing that you have to remember is for this front nut, you can't just torque it down. It's going to be a certain amount of tension that it presses on those bearings in the front. If not, the bearings can heat up and they will fail and cause you other big issues. So like right now, I can spin this, no problems. Spins great. What I'm going to do is take this and we're just going to tighten this up a little bit. So just put it right there on the nut. What I do is kind of like to tighten it up until it stops. Or you can just hit it kind of nice and now if I go to spin it, all right, it's not stopping. It's good. Let's get this. All right, now it's starting to get a little tight, and make sure there's no play. Grab this. No play in the bearing. Bearing feels good. It's not moving backwards and forwards. So what I want to do is now I'm just going to loosen it up a little bit. So basically, see I can turn it by hand, it stops. Now since you compressed it, you're basically taking that grease, because sometimes you just can't turn it by hand at first. You gotta kind of like tighten it up, then loose it, and then tighten it again. Make sure you spin this whole hub here, you gotta make sure you spin it backwards and forwards, because you get that grease in there. And if you don't do that, so we're just kind of snugging it up a little bit. You know, you don't want it so loose, because right now, see, I can still loosen it up. So from there, I'm just gonna, that's it. It should be good. And we go and fill it. Spins great, backwards and forwards, no problem. Can't move it, don't feel too much play. The bearings, everything feels good. So now we'll take our little retaining clip here. Put this on, and you gotta turn this. You gotta knock this back just a little bit. There we go. Check the retaining clip again. There we go. Fits good on there now. So what you're gonna have, so we got that. Go ahead and clean our last nut. This. Now this one you can torque down. I mean, you can hit this one pretty hard and get it really tight. No problems there. Because all this is doing is snugging up next to all of it, making sure it's not backing out. So let's get it. It's just pressing up against the other one. So we'll just go, it's snugging up. Still snugging up. Alright, now it's getting tight. Alright, it's there. Now we're lined up. Alright, so now since we have everything lined up, now what we want to do is on our lock nut, we had those two pieces that stuck out. One is for the back, so we'll press that down here for your back one, and the other one is for the front. Hopefully this key does not break. And I'll show you. And perfect, it didn't. And I'll take the camera here and I'll just show you. You have one key here, bend that over. You have the other one in the back for the back nut, and we are good to go. Everything still spins, everything feels great. So now we can finish putting it together. So now what we want to do is make sure you pull this axle. Remember how I showed you at the beginning of the video how you can stick a I think it's a 10mm bolt in there and pull this out. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull it out now. Hopefully it won't slide back in. If not, we'll get it out. So I'm just going to clean this up right here just a little bit, get the grease out of here so we can put our new gasket here. Please make sure you clean all this. Alright, we take our new hub gasket and let's just line this up. Little dowel pin right there, hole, so you kind of figure out where it goes. Slide that over there, be careful not to rip it. Alright, so let me show you the difference between the old one and the new one, and you could definitely tell. So this is the old one, this is the new one. See the difference in the height? Because the new Birfield joints they use, the outer axles are from 97. Looked on Rock Auto, a bunch of other places, couldn't find one for it. I was like, why can't I find one? Go to look for 97, boom, it's there. And they're, far as from what they tell us, it's longer. So for giggles, what I wanted to do is kind of clean the old one up a little bit. Let's stick it on here. Let's see how much shorter it actually is, or longer, sorry. Let's get all this on here. So, from what they're saying, that is the difference. That is a lot longer. A lot. That's about a 1/4 inch difference, maybe even more. So yeah, good thing they sent us the new one. Thank you, Cruiser Parts. You guys are awesome. So we'll take the old one, grab the new one. Here we go. So I cleaned it up. Look at it, looks brand new. Wire wheel, baby. All right, so this is the one we got from Cruiser Parts. Thank you. You guys over there are awesome. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna put this on here, and make sure you pull this axle out. Remember, like I was saying, trust me, it makes your life a lot easier. Gonna line this up, put it on there, and look, I still didn't pull out far enough. So all I gotta do here is get a, let me see here, let me see if I can, there we go, pull it out. Let's see if it's gonna work with us or if it's gonna push back. Almost. Let's just take this, there we go, there we go, it came out, perfect. Came out enough, so what we do now is take our seat clip, clean it up, take our seat clip pliers, put them on there, and of course it's not going to work with us, come on. Maybe if I stick the balls in there, it'll probably help out a lot better, won't it? And there we go, we got our seat clip in. Awesome. Now we push the axle back, pushes all this back, and we are ready to rock and roll. So all we got to do now is finish putting her together. So, one, two, three, four, 5, 6. All right. So we have our 6 little spatial washers, cone washers here. Put those in. Just kind of stick them on there for right now. And you can just tap them on. Brass hammer. Best friend doing this, won't mess anything up. Just tap it on. Make sure you get it in there. And there we go. So then we got our nuts and lock nuts. And please make sure you use lock nuts.
not lock nuts, lock washers. And actually, believe it or not, these are not lock washers, so please make sure you use your washers. Man, Toyota, you're confusing me here. Alright, washer, washer, washer. This one doesn't have a washer. Perfect. And we just take our nuts and put our nuts on. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, once I find it, the tools are organized again. 12 millimeter here. Start screwing them on. Get our extension, air tool, and start tightening these. Now, on these, like I said, I've seen people break them. Take a wrench and just kind of just torque them down a little bit. Not too much. You don't want to break these. Actually, I had to replace the ones on my 83 because whoever worked on it before me decided to break them. Alright, so now that's good. We get this big old grease pit thing out of here. And we're done with our silicone. Go ahead and tighten that back up. Now, put our brake caliper back together. But before, Loctite. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and slap our caliper back on. I got Loctite and everything stand by. So undo this. Bungee cord of awesomeness. Alright, I'll turn this back. Slide the caliper back on. Just like this. Make sure everything's still lined up. Knock it back on. There we go. Alright. It'll pretty much hold itself in place. So we got our caliper bolts. Loctite. Use it. That's what it's made for. Like that. Here we go. Oh, a little too much. It's all good. Never have too much Loctite, right? Especially on your brakes. Alright. Now let's try to get the first top one in. I'll go ahead and just set this to the side. Let's see if we get this top. Sometimes these can be fun trying to get all these to line up. Ah! Ooh, yeah, that draw blood. Yep. Okay. Alright, got the top one started. Ooh, I'm bleeding. It's all good. No pain, no gain, right? Alright. Get the bottom one going. And whatever you do, don't try to tighten up the top one before you get the bottom one started. It always turns out to be a nightmare. Get both of them started first. Get your extension. 17 millimeter socket. Tight position. Alright. So now, your air. Snug them up really good. There you go. Alright. Now our cap. Take that. Beat it on. Guess what? We're done. Besides putting the tire back on it. Yeehaw. Brake's a little tight. It's okay, that'll loosen up. ABS, everything else bolted in. let me clean up here a little bit. We'll bolt the tire on and we'll see if she's popping.
Alright, tire back on.
Awesome. That was too easy. I think the lug nuts. Blood, sweat, and tears goes into this thing. Definitely got my blood. Alright. Get that. Of course, tighten. Now all we can do is test it out. So we're gonna jack it up a little bit, take the tires off the jack stand. Here. Get the jack stand out. Let's lower her down. Alright, so now we're gonna crank her up, move her around, and see if she's still popping. Popping. Let's check it and pull up. All right. Well, I have to say that's pretty successful. Well, everyone, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, comment, and check my other videos. You have a great day.